Hey guys, this is Lisa Simone Richards from Get Seen, Get Clients, and Get Paid, and I'm so excited you're joining me on Facebook today. And you can see I have my good girlfriend on camera with me. This is Christina Nicholson. And Christina, why don't you tell everybody what you do so they can hear it from you, and then I'll tell them the backstory on how we met.
Okay, so what I do, it's very similar to what Lisa does. I help small business owners get in the spotlight. I do that through media relations, but I actually didn't start in PR. My background is in TV. I was a reporter and anchor for 10 years. So I was on the complete opposite side. I was the one that was being pitched by small business owners or publicists to put them on TV. And after about 10 years, and a couple of kids, I needed something more flexible. So I got into PR and I worked at an agency for 6 months, but I didn't like a lot of the stuff that I saw at an agency and at other agencies. So I decided to just go off on my own because it's not a hard thing to do on your own. You're doing the same thing. You're just your own boss, which is what I wanted to be ultimately. So I've been doing it on my own for about 2 years now.
Awesome. And I think that's what a lot of the viewers today want to do as well. If they aren't already their own bosses or entrepreneurs, they're working towards, moving from a side hustle to full time into their career. So it's awesome to speak to somebody who has, built her own business as well today to inspire us. So guys, the reason I want to bring Christina on is because a lot of the times we talk about, how to get visibility, how to do PR, how to get in front of your ideal client. And you hear it from me from the side of pitching, but I thought it would be really cool to speak to somebody who's on the other side receiving the pitches to tell us their take on what it's like to get these pitches, how much they hear from people every day, what works and what doesn't. So it's kind of like more of an insider scoop. So if you are just logging on, this is Lisa Simone Richards, and I'm here with Christina Nicholson, freelance writer and former reporter. And just pop us some hearts and some likes and ask us some questions. If you want to know anything about how the media works from behind the scenes, let us know in the comments. This is when you get to tap Christina and find out the details from her directly. So a little bit about how Christina and I met. Both of us had done a course about 2 years ago on how to build an online course, and we met in the group, became friends, and then we finally connected in person for the first time this year in Florida at an event. That was, 2 months ago?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were friends for like about a year before we met in person, and it's awesome to collaborate with somebody who's in the same industry as me. So that's how we met. So without further ado, okay, so give us like the backstory first on like what does it look like in a TV newsroom? How fast is it? Like I don't even know where to start. Tell me everything.
Yeah. So it is fast, like everything's super fast. So depending on what shift you work, like as a reporter, you usually work 3 shifts. You're either morning, day, or night. I would fill in the mornings, but most of my shifts were either day or night. So say I go in at 2:30. I go in at 2:30. Many times I'll be given a story to like bust out in 2 or 3 hours for the 5 or 6 o'clock news. Sometimes it would be following a story already covered. Sometimes I would have to start from scratch. Sometimes it was breaking news. Sometimes I wouldn't have to do the 5 or 6 because those shows were full. I would just have to do something for the 11 p.m. And the same goes for day. If you come in at 9 in the morning, you may have to do something for the noon newscast, but always for the 5 and 6 o'clock newscast. 9 times out of 10, in TV news, local TV news, the story that you do that day is happening that day. It was not planned before. Maybe you're following some breaking news or something that happened the day before, but you go into a newsroom at 9 o'clock in the morning, at 9:30, you have your morning meeting. And that's when we talk about everything that happened yesterday, everything that happened overnight. We're talking about what's in the planner. So these are like all of the events, all the emails we got, all the story ideas we got, they're all in the planner. And you go through them really quickly. Like in 20 minutes, you're talking about 30 different story ideas. This is what this person can cover. We can send a photographer here. This doesn't need a reporter. A photographer just needs to go get video. So in the morning, you decide what everybody's going to do. And then you go out and do it. And then depending on breaking news happening, or you went out to cover a story and it's not quite what it looked like, then you'll get moved to another story. And then you usually go live for the 5, the 5:30, or the 6, and that's it. So how this relates to pitching is your pitch is going to always be moved down below breaking news. Breaking news trumps everything. So if you watch the local news, what you see near the top, it's a car accident, it's a shooting, it's a fire. It's always a negative story that happened that day. So, a tip to pitching is if you can relate your brand or your expertise to something that is breaking news or something that happened locally, then that's a way to get in there where maybe you could do that follow-up. So in that morning meeting, we could say, oh yeah, we had this house fire yesterday. Oh, and somebody emailed us and they are an arson expert and they're willing to talk to us today about how this fire started or something like that. So you just want to try to relate yourself to the big stories that are happening. But the pitches that come in, you're already going to be a second thought. That's just the nature of local news. And you do want to send them to the news desk. They're the ones that get everything, but keep in mind they get everything. So you are one of hundreds of emails. Their phones are ringing off the hook. They're listening to scanners. They're watching the helicopter and what the chopper is shooting wherever they are. And then you also want to email reporters and sometimes producers. It just depends. Reporters pitch stories, producers pitch stories. Every single news station is different. But we all kind of would work together in the morning meeting to look at what's happening, to pitch some ideas, to read some emails. So it all just depends on what market you're in and what the news is.
So it's very cool to get an insider look of what a newsroom looks like and the happenings and the timelines and who to be reaching out to. But I'm going to also kind of pivot it to another angle as well, because a lot of the people who are tuning in today are health, fitness, and wellness entrepreneurs. So they're going to be looking to book those more lifestyle segments as opposed to a hard news segment. And I know that I see you do some news, what do you call it when you're behind a desk? More lifestyle content, really. You do those deals and steals and stuff. Can you tell us how it works with more of a lifestyle perspective like that, where it's something that's actually been planned in advance?
Yeah, okay. So planning in advance in TV, it's probably the shortest plan in advance you can do. I would suggest like 2 weeks because, those are the more fun, fluffy segments. I know like I have a monthly segment at the NBC in West Palm Beach. Now, their segment, it's an hour-long newscast, and it is news, but it's also the fun stuff. And if you're looking to book that, like you're not going to want to do the 5 p.m. or the 6 p.m. or the 11 p.m. Your focus is going to be on morning, afternoon, and weekend mornings. Because all those other time slots, that's for the hard, depressing, terrible news. So you want to focus on morning, afternoon, and weekend morning.
Totally.
So I would look 2 to 3 weeks in advance, and you need to make it timely. So, for example, this week, I have a restaurant that specializes in macaroni and cheese appearing. I had them in Miami and I have them in West Palm because Friday, tomorrow, is National Mac and Cheese Day. And then in a couple of weeks, it's National Tequila Day. So I have a Mexican restaurant doing a segment in studio for National Tequila Day. So you definitely want to make it timely because if it's not timely, and if you're not backtracking, like, okay, this day would be good for me to be on TV, but don't just limit yourself to that day. Say the whole week before and this day. Because if you want to sell something, if we want to get people in the door for Mac and Cheese Day, we got to tell them about it before, not necessarily just the day of. So you want to backtrack 2 or 3 weeks and then start pitching the appropriate people with your idea and explain, oh, this is very timely and this is why. Because if it's not timely, then you're going to be put on the back burner because that's a story that can be done anytime. So you want to make sure you find some kind of timely tie-in with your pitch.
Yeah, so I love two of the things that you've just covered right now that I want to speak to. So for anyone who's tuning in right now, you're going to want to go back to the beginning of this video and watch it from the start because Christina's talking to us today about how we can promote our business for free on television and get in front of more clients and kind of giving us the kind of behind the scenes on how a newsroom works. So you're going to want to go back to the beginning to get some of her tips. But two things that you were just speaking to were newsjacking before, the importance of how you can piggyback off of existing news, which is something I speak to a lot. And the second thing is timeliness. It's so important for people to understand that, if you want something to show up in a magazine, it's not happening tomorrow, it's happening in 3 months. So I'm really, really glad that you shared that there's about a 2 to 3 week lead time. So when you guys are thinking about getting on TV with your businesses, you want to think about where you're going to be in 3 weeks, what's going to be relevant then, and how can you be a part of that story or create a pitch that's relevant to whatever occasion might be coming up, whether it's like, a commemorative day like National Mac and Cheese Day, which sounds absolutely delicious and I want to partake in.
They were a hit in the studio because newsrooms, that's another tip. You would think that people in newsrooms don't eat, so if you send them food, they will be very happy.
And it's funny because I had a content upgrade one time that talked about how to host your first media event. And guys, if you want to get access to that, I know it's on my blog at lisasimonrichards.com. So check out the blog and you'll get access to that. But one of the things I was saying, Christina, when you're hosting a media event, have food. And I'm not even kidding, like literally have food. If someone goes to a media event and there isn't something to eat there, they're not going to be happy and they're going to be going to the next one. So I think with news personalities, for some reason, you guys are always hungry and you're so happy when we feed you.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. And it's not the reporters or photographers in the field. Like, we're more normal, but it's those people inside the newsroom that can have food delivered to them or they can leave at any time and get food. They love free food in the newsroom. I don't know what it is. So feed them.
Yeah, it's funny. I had one client who's a nutritionist, and something that we did, and you can see my cat in the background. So hey guys, real life, I'm at home. One thing that we did, we actually did food drops. So she was making some vegan, gluten-free cupcakes that were actually really, really delicious. They were sugar-free too. And we would hop into newsrooms and just drop them off and give them something to snack on during the day. And that was really good because she ended up developing a really tight relationship with them and is on their show regularly now. And going back to the timeliness that you were speaking about before, I just started working with a new client. We've been together for about 6 weeks now. And understanding the timing is so important because we were pitching National Baby Wearing Week, which comes up in October, but I know this show books up really quickly. And if we'd waited an extra day on the pitch, we wouldn't have gotten the segment. So that was really awesome what you shared there.
Yeah.
Okay, so something else I would love to pick your brain on. How can we write a pitch that's going to be compelling and actually get opened and read and considered, especially if we don't already have a relationship with the media?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I mean, obviously relationships are important, but good stories are better. Like if you have a great relationship.
Ooh, I love that. Good stories are better.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, because if you have a great relationship, but your story sucks, you're not going to get it. But if you have no relationship and a great story, that matters. So one is don't write a press release and send a press release and write press release in the subject line because they're long and boring. Like nobody wants to read that. Instead, make the subject line the most catchy to the point subject line that you can and make the pitch very short, sweet, and to the point. Don't make it about you. I think that's the number one mistake in pitches that I saw on TV was there was no story and it was all about whatever brand the publicist was pitching or whatever the guy, like I know you think you're the best thing since sliced bread, your product is like no other, you have a great story, but you have to really put yourself in the shoes of the reporter. They have a job to do. It's not to promote you. If you want that, go upstairs in sales and buy a commercial. So you have to have some kind of takeaway with a story. And I say use the 3 E's. You have to make it educational, entertaining, and emotional. And when I say emotional, that means bring in the real person that has something to do with your story. So if we're talking about a personal trainer, you better bring in that person who was 400 pounds, who is now 200 pounds. That person is the one to tell their story. You're there as your expert to give your 2 cents, but the story is going to be about that person who lost all that weight. If you are a doctor and you just cured cancer, good for you, but you need to bring us the cancer patient who no longer has cancer. That's the story. And the mistake people make is they make it all about them and why they're so special, and they forget that emotional element, and the emotional element is the one that's going to get you the story and get you the coverage. So when you pitch, you need to say, and you could even say real person, like that's a news term. So say real person. I have a real person you can talk to. And when you pitch, you also need to be available that day. Because like I said, we come in at 9, we have our story to do. Sometimes it's due in 3 hours. Sometimes it's due by the end of the day. But I would get pitches from people and I'd be like, okay, cool, we'll do the story. And I would call them and they would say, okay, well, what are you going to ask us? Okay, so when can we set this up? It's like, I'm going to go out there and have a conversation with you. Like, we don't write our questions before. We don't have a meeting before. We go out, we stick a mic in your face, and we talk to you for 5 minutes, and then we leave. And then we put it together in a story that's a minute total. Like, it's not a big production like people think. And people will say, oh, well, I need some time to prepare. No. You need to be prepared because you just pitched me. You just emailed me, and you said we could do this. Today we're doing it. So are we doing it or not? And many people would say, oh, let's set that up for next week. Like, when have you ever watched the local news and you're seeing a story that's 2 weeks old because the person you wanted to interview wasn't ready? Like, if you are not ready when you pitch, then you're going to lose your opportunity. As soon as the media calls you and they say, okay, we'll be there in 5 minutes, then you better be ready in 5 minutes, because that's just the way it works in local TV. You know, obviously the glossy print magazines, that's 3 months ahead of time. So, you know, you can wait all you want with that, but in local TV, you need to be ready like that minute that you hit send.
And that's a legit experience that I had one time. The CBC, which is a national broadcaster in Canada, is just down the street from my house, and they were doing a story on Airbnb. And I used to sometimes I still Airbnb my place, and they were filming it with a girlfriend of mine who's an Airbnb expert. So she was like, "Hey, can the CBC come and film something at your house? We just want an Airbnb location to use." So I was like, "Yeah, sure. What time do I need to be home by?" "We'll be there in 10 minutes. I was like, "Well, it's a good thing I'm down the street right now, because if I was, in a suburb, it would be 30 minutes till I could get home." So I think one thing, excuse me, something I think that's really important for people to get from this is that the most perfectly polished isn't the one who gets the coverage, it's the one who's the fastest. So there has to be a sense of urgency. Even with this different client I was working with earlier this summer, we had a newspaper opportunity and we couldn't get a quote in time, and it was almost a lost cause.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. 100%. That's true. You have to be fast, because the 6 o'clock news starts at 6 o'clock. It's not going to wait on you because you're not prepared. I'm going through a kitchen renovation, so excuse the drilling that you may hear.
It's really faint. Don't worry. I have a condo going up next to me, so between the two of us and this cat jumping around, real life happens. Okay, so Christina, I would love to ask you one more question, and this is also going to stem from an experience that I've had, but I think this is something that a lot of people who are tuning in can relate to. So I used to work for a boot camp, and my CEO, she was launching, so we only had boot camps in the evening. And now we were launching them in the morning. And she's like, "Lisa, I need you to do a news release about this. We need to turn it into a thing." And I was like, nobody cares that you're releasing morning boot camps. But I think that could be the mentality of some of the people who are watching. So let's give them a taste of how they can take something like that and turn it into a news story. So let's say you're a fitness facility and you have a new class offering, a new time slot. From a bigger perspective in the news, how can you spin that or pull something from it to turn it into something that's worthwhile to pitch? I know I'm totally putting you on the spot here.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But you're right. That's not a story. Nobody gives a shit that you changed your times. Like, if that's news, then the news would suck, because that's boring. Nobody cares. It doesn't affect anybody. The only people it affects are the people in that class. So you have to take yourself and your wants and your needs out of it and think bigger picture. So like, some ideas that come to my head are why it is better if you exercise in the morning than at night. Or why, something like that. Yeah. And then you make it timely. So if it's around New Year's, a New Year's resolution or something, so you're making it more about just in general, exercising in the morning is better, and this is why. And that is why we just changed our hours from the evening to the morning, because then it's more newsworthy. The story benefits more people, but you still get that little bit of plug-in that you want for your business and your new hours. So you need to stop thinking about yourself and start thinking more, how does this help people outside of my boot camp? How does this help people? How does it entertain them? Where's the emotional? And that's, again, where you can bring somebody, a mom who just had a baby, she lost the baby weight. She did it by working in the morning, and this is why the morning workouts worked for her. So you want to tell a story that is way deeper than just a boot camp time change.
That's amazing. That was perfect on the spot, exactly how you can reframe it into something else. So I think with that, we'll leave it there. Christina, you are a superstar. That was amazing. That was so valuable. I hope you guys get a lot out of this video. And if you have any questions, you can leave your questions in the comments below if you're watching this on the replay. Tag Christina and we can come in and check them and respond to them. I know we have some people in the group who've been asking about getting media coverage lately. So take advantage of us as a resource. Leave some comments. So Christina, for people who want to learn more about you, where can they go?
Okay, well, I have an ebook that I can give them, and this drilling is killing me. If you go to mediamavenandmore.com/standout, you can get a free ebook that it kind of takes you behind the scenes and talks a little bit more. Look at you, Lisa, with that lower third like that.
You were able to see it this time.
I can see that. Yes, folks, in TV, that is called a lower third. When you send a pitch, you're going to want to include that in their pitch. You want to give them everything on a silver platter. So put the lower third in there. Throw them a bone. Say this is the lower third. Go there, and you can get my ebook for free. It just kind of expands on what we've talked about a little bit on pitching TV and what I've seen and what I've done in TV.
Awesome. I'm so glad you joined us today. This was so much fun to do with someone who's my friend and just totally kick back and have a normal conversation like we might any other time, but actually let people peek into it. So thank you, Christina. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Check out a copy of Christina's book, and we will see you next Thursday. As always, leave me a comment or a question. If you have any questions, if you have someone you want me to chat with, let me know and let me make it happen for you. So have a great week, guys. I will see you later. And Christina, thank you so much again.
Thank you, Lisa.
Bye.